Welcome to another episode. Yes, another episode. We're back. We're back in the heat again. What are we doing? We've been talking about something very special. What? Kingdom come. Not go, but come. Like Cosby, come here. No, joke. Kingdom come. We're talking about that. Let's go.
Those credits. Hey everyone, welcome back again to the iConis podcast. We are going to talk about Kingdom Come for our series we're doing. We read Kingdom Come or we read Kingdom Come, however you want to do it, right? So once again, Barry 3 over here on my side is the one and only
DJ Rod C.
And we are joined by
Larry Reckless Auto.
There we go. And we're going to talk about this is our series we just started because we want to get you as fans, new, old, whatever case would be, into cutting comic books. We're always talking about support your comic book stores, and that's the main thing about the series. So don't ask us how much a book is worth if you're jumping into the comic book genre. We're not going to get into how much a book is worth one over the other. No, we're talking about the worth of the stories, and these are things that you should add into your long box collections. Okay, so one of the storylines that you'll probably enjoy is one we just mentioned here, Kingdom Come. So Kingdom Come was a beautiful let's say four issue maxi series that was, or prestige series that was done by Alex Ross, Mark Wade, and we're always seeing like the origin stories in general, regardless of what you read of characters. You read their adventures, but now over the past few years, you realize there's a lot of writers saying, "Hey, what's their last story for this? What's the last story for, let's say, it could be Spider-Man, or the last story for the Avengers, or the Future's End for some of the DC Universe characters." So this is almost like a ending story for a lot of the DC characters and properties that exist, like why they kind of retired, some of them came back, what they hope to do at this point. So they're all older. Because of certain things, there's been subplots that have been laid for years that have come to fruition during this time. So this is what this series in general is about, that I would see. So, as I said, Alex Ross is really renowned for painting. He'll get like live subjects, paint them into costumes, and then use them to not just do covers, but to do the interior art, depending on how it is. So for Kingdom Come, he did this. For Marvel, I know he did one very similar, but he just painted the covers. His artwork is beautiful. You can see it at Comic Cons all over. You've probably seen it online. And it's a lot of his family members and friends that he uses as, characters that you've seen before. So, and great storyline. I know at one point, he said that, he was influenced, and this is his own words, he was influenced by Alan Moore, right? And when he did the whole Watchmen thing, but he doesn't deconstruct the superhero to make him a jerk, right? They're still likable at the end of the day. So I know Larry brought this up, on this series that we're talking about. And Kingdom Come, as I said, is done by DC Comics in 1996. That's when it launched. These are the people I said they're behind it. And I'm going to hand it over to Larry. Larry, let us know your take and why people should get this book, add it to their collection, and read it.
Okay. Well, for one thing, like you were saying, it was written by Mark Wade because he's very familiar with the background and history of DC Comics, having written quite a bit of the handbook, as I remember, and such, who's who, as they call it, for DC. And Alex Ross wanted to do something with this after he did Marvels for Marvel Comics. So the date is, again, 1996. It's May through August, just in case you're looking it up. It has been released twice, the 96 and 2015. 2015's got a lot of background. But not only does this get you a lot of information of heroes from, well, the end of the Sandman's life, Wesley Dodds, and characters that got developed later in like JSA and other stories that were actually in the background of this.
Yes.
You see just some of the characters that I'm going to mention to start off with. Magog,
Yep.
JJ Thunder,
Yep.
Iris West,
Yep.
Lightning,
Yeah.
as
Okay.
in
Yeah.
as in Black Lightning's daughter,
Yep.
and so forth. Um, and you also get something that everybody always goes, okay, you've got your two most powerful male superheroes in DC Comics.
Mhm.
And there's always been an argument. Who's going to win this fight and why?
Right.
This gives you one take of it.
Hmm.
And I'm just going to give you a hint that they use in part of it in a semi-biblical quote. I heard the sound of seven thunders. That's your hint about the other character besides Superman, because you know it's going to be Superman, and if you're going to a DC comic, big thing.
Absolutely.
But
Absolutely.
who's that? Who's that guy that's he's going to go against at some point?
You want us to tell him? You want us to tell him?
I don't know. We can hold it, or we can tell him. Up to you.
Ah, okay. I can tell him, and then you guys still got to read it because you got to stand against there, and it's one and only Shazam, Captain Marvel.
Marvel. Yeah.
Exactly, and
Sure.
and this is a beautiful take on it, man. So before I dive into some of my parts and more on this, Rod, did you ever check out the Kingdom Come comic book series?
I did. I did long time ago.
Right.
Definitely,
Okay.
like a long time ago. So, but it was definitely a good read because again, it was a futuristic kind of take on what if certain certain thing goes wrong. I do remember like just kind of hashing myself here with this, like seeing the how Superman wanted to distance himself, which was one of the things that you would never believe he wanted to distance himself from the world. You know, the the famous Boy Scout, always there for the planet, always there for the world. And yeah, this is the time he's like, yeah, y'all figure it out yourself. You can do it. I'm like, oh, okay. So kind of reading back through that, oh yeah, I forgot that was his mindset in the beginning of the whole storyline. But yeah, it was and again, well, Shazam, I forgot about Shazam. I think you just mentioned that. I mean
Yeah.
Captain Marvel. But Batman and the way he was cahooting with Lex, which was like, oh, that's fun. But I digress. I think I've said too much.
Well, and also, if you guys, another thing I want to say about where you see things later on in, if you guys remember in the Arrowverse, how
Yes.
Kevin Conroy played Batman, the
Yes.
outfit that he was in.
Yes.
Yes. The exos. I was going to talk about that. The
Yep.
exoskeleton.
Please continue.
Right. No problem. So if you read, so here's the influence of Kingdom Come. Kingdom Come was a huge influential thing within the industry, outside of the industry, and Larry was just talking about in the Arrow universe. So if you watch any of the Arrow shows, so that's Arrow, Flash, and when they used to do their crossover events, it was so exciting that when they did one of their crossover events, they showed Kevin Conroy, who was the voice of the animated version of Batman in the animated Batman series, and of course he's done the voice for Batman. I mean, he's passed away now, rest in peace, but he's done the voice for Batman on video games, animated, in Justice League Unlimited, and so forth. Like for 26 years, anytime you heard Batman's voice, I am the Knight, was Kevin Conroy. So
Fact.
when they brought in the live action version, they brought Ruby Rose in as Batgirl, and they had to go to one of the Crisis of Infinite Earths, and they're jumping all over the place. They get there to an older Bruce Wayne, and you see an actor. He's Bruce Wayne. He's in the Batcave, gray hair, and he's wearing the exoskeleton. And not exoskeletons because of the damage that Batman has taken over the years on his body. That's what keeps him walking around. And that was a direct take from Kingdom Come, from how
Yep.
Bruce Wayne is. It's even to the point where the gray hair, receding hairline with Bruce Wayne, he still has a cynical smile on him at times. And he's made robots. And I'll go back to Gotham in a second. The other takeaway is when you see Brandon Roth come back as Superman, because he's played Superman in what's the movie? Superman Returns. There we go. The live action
Yep.
movie of Superman Returns.
Yep.
So Brandon Roth kind of carries on from that from a future perspective, and you see him put on a Superman costume, and the S, his emblem, which stands for hope, instead of having the yellow background, has a black background, which was direct, influence taken from Kingdom Come.
Yep.
So here's a couple of things. Now, the fun thing about this is Mark Waid, a wealth of knowledge of DC, put in so many characters in this book that he had to put an index at the back and put numbers of who was who on the covers that Alex painted in, that he wrote in. And going back to Gotham, you'll see DC covered anyone that was a DC property at any point of time from the time the company created up to that time when this book got released. They threw them in there somewhere. And an Easter egg is at one point you have Bruce Wayne. I think he's talking to Clark Kent, and I can't remember the scene, but I do remember how it plays out that they're talking about Gotham City, and Bruce has made bat robots that patrol the city to keep the crime down. And at one point, there's a group of kids that are spray painting or doing something, and you see them see the robots, and they're running away. Now, if you focus on the robots, you miss who the kids are. And those kids are Fat Albert and the Cosby Kids. Yes, that Fat Albert and the Cosby Kids from the TV show where Bill Cosby would sit in with the Brown Hornet and talk about it. Hey, hey, hey. They were the kids that were in there because DC had the license for their book at one point. Just like DC had the license for G.I. Joe that we've talked about. So a lot of those characters show up and make appearances. The Teen Titans are there and they're older, so they're not Teen Titans anymore, they're Titans. The Justice League is still around, so Superman has retired and retreated. Lois Lane has passed away. Wonder Woman, she's older, and it seems that her and Clark finally have started to have that relationship. And the Justice League is still around, and they gotta go more to a biblical sense, a mythical sense, just like how they're doing Gods and Monsters, overall with James Gunn, and that's how he's looking at the universe. Think of it this way, and I'll just give you a couple examples. Aquaman, his name is Arthur, and he's a king. So he starts leading in more to King Arthur, as in King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table. And he's got the kingdom. He's not having the orange scales. He's sitting in full out medieval armor under the sea.
Yeah.
Green Lantern is on a satellite that he made as a construct out of it with his ring. A full out satellite like the Justice League satellite that hangs around the Earth.
That's Alan Scott.
Sorry, Alan Scott. Sorry, yes, Alan Scott, not Hal Jordan. Alan Scott. And he sits there with a green sword, and once again, like that medieval take on it. So here's what we're getting in. We're getting into the spirit of America that's going across, who is kind of Uncle Sam, right? But Alex Ross,
he's in there, you barely see him, but he's just in the background.
He's in the background, exactly. But I believe, or if it's not Alex Ross, the pastor. Sorry, it's the pastor that's going around.
Yeah, the pastor.
Right.
Inspector.
Right, an inspector, right? But when he draws him, when he paints him, Alex Ross used his dad. That's actually his dad that he painted into the comic book.
Yeah.
So this storyline goes in, and it just kind of says a lot of the heroes that we've known, Justice League, Justice Society, are there, right? You're not sure who some of them are. You have to kind of pick up on the clues. So at one point you see Flash, and he never stays in the city. He runs around with the Jay Garrick hat. He's just a red blur all the time. It looks like he's running around naked. You never really. So is it Wally West? Is it Barry Allen? You find out more as you read the book. But this is how they've evolved, right? Like they've hit their ultimate level for the Justice League team. Some of them have taken a roll back. The new heroes have joined in, and the new heroes are more aggressive. It feels like they would be what, if I had to relate it, picture The Boys with the newer
Yeah.
heroes. They have more of an
Yeah.
aggressive attitude. They're not
Yeah.
so much about capturing. They're more about not having a rogues gallery, if you get what I mean. You show
Right.
up, it's one and done.
Yeah. And it's also the fact that one of the things is that they've gotten to a point where there's not that many villains
Yeah.
and they're almost fighting amongst themselves.
Yes. Yes.
But one of the things I really loved about just it's a throwaway, but um, if you know anything about Elvis Presley and who his favorite comic book character was,
Yes.
it was Captain Marvel Jr.
That's right. This is why Elvis had those costumes made in a way, where the white sequence jumpsuits with a cape.
Right.
Mm.
And so Alex draws Captain Marvel Jr. to look like Elvis in one of those Vegas costumes.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
So, and
Yeah.
that's the beauty of it. Like, I think the series is, it looks gorgeous. When you
It is
read it,
beautiful.
it's an easy read. It looks gorgeous. The storyline, the questions that ask within there make you think. And it's nice to see, well, what happens when my heroes get older?
Right.
Do some of them stay heroes? And the whole thing about comic books is all about legacy. So we know that everyone wants to have a legacy, especially with DC. I mean, I've talked about this. We've talked about this before. With DC family. When I said DC family crisis, there's a Batman family, there's a Superman family, and it's not all families because it's they're blood related. Some are, and some aren't. They've taken on that mantra with it. So when you see Bruce Wayne is sitting at a table having a discussion, and I can't remember the name of the other character, but it is his son. It would almost be like if Damian did not become Damian, and he was raised by the League of Assassins.
Oh, Eastman.
Mm.
Yes, thank you. And he's sitting
Yeah.
there face
Son
to
of the Bat.
face, right? And that goes back to the Son of the Bat, that graphic novel from years ago, right? And they, if you would have just taken a Damian Wayne part of it and just say, okay, he's a grown man now, it's like he looks like a young dashing Bruce Wayne. But well, wait a minute, he was raised by Talia and Ra's al Ghul, or Ra's al Ghul, however you want to pronounce
Mm.
it, and the League. Uh-oh.
Yeah. And you've got Dick's daughter.
Yeah.
And this is where you first saw the character Red Robin, which was Dick in this one.
Yes. Yes. And a lot of influences from like what the Justice Society, like Earth 2 counterparts, like how their costumes were and how they integrated it. So it's a lot of Easter eggs, storylines, renewed hope. Um, where are they now?
Yeah.
Right? Where are
Yeah.
they now? Because the old school heroes have to come back and talk to the new school heroes. And let's put it this way: if there's no villains around, heroes don't really talk to heroes. There's a lot of red meat. There's a lot of testosterone going on. So it's about fisticuffs.
Yeah.
So
This
I
is
know when this series came out at first, I was like, oh, it's going up there with my, Crisis of Infinite Earths. This is a storyline. Four
right.
issues, not a big commitment. Go to your
Yeah.
local comic book store. Larry, what was your takeaway? What drew you to the series?
I mean, the artistry, the artistry, the story, the history, the future history. And
Hmm.
one of the big things that I it's the Spectre's storyline in it,
Okay.
where
Nice.
he's been so long, and it's Jim Corrigan is still the host, quote unquote, but he's been so long as a Spectre, he's lost his humanity.
Right.
And that's why you get two things with the main character who's your narrator, I guess,
Yeah.
Hmm.
which is the pastor, um,
Norman.
Norman, exactly.
Mhm.
Norman gets Norman takes two spots. He takes the spot of Wesley Dodds seeing the future, and that's where we get the "I heard seven thunders" line,
Yep.
and he takes the place of Jim Corrigan as the touchstone for humanity for the Spectre.
Mhm. Yes.
And when you
Yes.
get to that point where Norman's pleading at the end, and he's not pleading with Spectre. I'm not going to say he's pleading with. Read it.
Right.
But when you get to that point, it's just like, damn. This is where, okay, I'm going to have to say this. I grew up without a father.
Mm.
Okay. My father died when I was 13.
Right.
All right. So a lot of my morals came from comics. This shows you where your morals should be.
Wow. Wow. Okay. That's very deep. Yeah. Yeah. But you've hit it on the head. And the fact that Alex kind of incorporated his dad into the storyline, how that strikes to you, I totally get it. For sure. 100%. And I mean, for me, I think this is definitely a story to be read, to be analyzed, to leave as this. If they had to do something more on it, if they have to recreate it in an animated way, do it as is. Let's not veer off the path
Don't touch
because
it.
the
Yeah.
story is that rich. You don't need to.
Yeah.
And throw in those Easter eggs. That would be beautiful. Rod, what was your takeaway on from what you remember, or your
Well,
feelings on
yeah.
Kingdom
Well,
Come?
I mean, what I liked about it, as well as I was saying before, is that futuristic kind of vibe, in a sense of, because at that time, yes, you had storylines that were like future vented, and it was always, I would just say, in the same universe.
Mhm.
Now we're getting a visual on future possibility in an alternate universe, and just seeing, like I said, you're seeing Superman who is withdrawn. These are characteristics that you don't normally expect to see. You're seeing, the way the top three tiers have to kind of like come back together to save a world from itself. Because in that realm, like you said, the concept of what happens when the morals of, like Larry said, so this is the moral compass in regards to the villains and everything along that line. You said it earlier. They're trying to, the new wave of heroes don't really take in consideration of um rehabilitation and that self of trying to get themselves better. Like, no, you're done, you crossed the line, you're out.
Yeah.
And just that type of attitude and that kind of mindset to keep being aggressive and always just not trying to look for the betterment, that's something different. And just seeing that, like, the old school, the OGs had to come out of retirement to lay out the leveling the field, level it out and just smooth it out and just try to bring back the morals that they themselves worked through so hard to bring to the world in their time, realizing they're going to have to re-infuse it back to the current of their time, and realizing the struggles of, you know, different point of view for people to do one thing, new heroes, their point of view of extreme, executing justice in their particular manner versus the old way of taking care of justice and taking care of people, and realizing how there is a way to do it humanely
Yes.
versus the non-humane way that the current new hero generation was doing.
Yeah.
So
But
it's
Yeah.
but you also have to look at the old heroes. We can show them the right way, but we can't force them to do it.
right.
Exactly.
But you got to be a living example. So
Yeah.
them having to like realize they got to put the tights back on, get back into the game, and then show them you want the same result to stop crime and so forth, but your methodologies are a little shrew. This is how we did it back then. These are the results that we were able to get. Now, for the issue that happened that made everybody disband and stop, fine. But the moral compass was very prime, and like the prime directive in that regard, they lost that over here. So the storyline, like you said, is very. This is why it's still a top tier storyline for anybody to go back and read, for anybody to just kind of, you hear about Kingdom Come, take the moment, read through it, and just engulf yourself into the storyline and just see what was being told to you and understand what the story is trying to tell you. And I'm sure it's going to relate to somebody on some aspect in their life. They're going to realize something. They're going to walk away, read away with something positive out of that.
And I'm going to say I do the same thing. I do the same thing with this series as I do with Watchmen. I go back to about every 10, 15 years and reread it
Mm-hmm.
because you get something different.
Yeah, 100%.
Absolutely, because yourselves, have evolved as people in your lives, right? Just overall, so you'll see it from a different angle. But the beauty of it is, it never loses its appeal. This is one of those ones. It's a timeless story.
Right.
I truly think it's a timeless story. It doesn't matter if you got it back in 1996, 2015, 2026. If you read it, it's worth having. It's worth rereading. It's worth dissecting those characters and seeing how that was and restoring. At the look of it, or restoring the characters for what they should have been at that time when you read it at the point of story for them.
Mm-hmm.
So I will say this is one that will make you talk. Gentlemen, I don't know if you have any last words. If you do, let them fly now. We'll wrap this one up. But yeah, Kingdom Come is awesome. That's all I gotta say. But yes, any last words?
Find a way to read this. I don't care how you find. Go to the library, buy it online. If you, I'm not gonna support piracy, but there are places to find stuff.
That's funny.
Was Larry's just basically by any means necessary find the story. That's all he's saying. But in reality, yeah, I mean, I'll just chime in that, like, yeah, this is people in the comic book world. Everyone at least has read, if not heard, has read it. And this is one of the reasons why the storyline is so in depth. It's so, involving. It's a reason why 96 to now, 30 years later, this thing is still on the top tier for a lot of people. People will, you may, some may forget it for half a second, but once you mention the word Kingdom Come, oh, yeah, that Alex Ross. Oh, yeah. I remember. That was a good storyline. That was a good storyline. Trust and believe. It's worth, it's worth just, having that in your stack. If you can't get it immediately in that regard, but if you have the ability to at least read it of some sort, at least it's a good read. If you don't have the ability to get it physical and keep it for yourself, but you have some way that you can actually read it and take it in, you won't be disappointed.
No, not at all. I'll say this. I mean, look, go to your local comic book store, pick it up. Go online, pick it up, order it. You can get it in 4 issues. You can get it as a trade paperback. It is worth the read. It's worth reading the intro that Alex and Mark write. It's worth reading the outro that they have there and getting all the Easter eggs and seeing how it is. Because if you go ahead and do that, and then you look at the Marvel universe of any movies you might have watched over time or cartoons you would have watched over time, you can actually sit there and pull that Leo DiCaprio meme. Like, there it is. I've seen it. There's something there. And a lot of people have that influence for it. So this is definitely one story to add to your long boxes, I like to put it, to have on, wherever you want to read it and obtain it. And nothing beats having a physical copy. This is the one to pull up. I would definitely pull up that. Even though my personal favorite is Micronauts, I would say for DC, it is Kingdom Come. That is the story line to jump on. I mean, there's a couple of more and we will touch on them, but for this series, that is the one. Add it to the long box. Trust me, you won't be disappointed. Story stands the test of time. So you guys got to do a big thank you to Alex and Mark putting that all together. And that's all we got to say. So on this episode, thank you for We Read Kingdom Come. This whole world was started by a pencil, a piece of paper, and lots of imagination. Keep on dreaming. And as Larry would love to say,
keep writing, keep drawing. You guys are creators yourselves.
And we will talk about you too. Okay, perfect. Thank you for joining us. We're out, and make sure to go and pick it up. Check out your local comic book stores. This has been the iConis Podcast.